Welcome back to the Franchastic podcast. This is our 6th episode, Caden. What are you thinking?
That's crazy. Today we're going to talk a little bit more about momentum and, after taking breaks and like how that carries over.
I think that's a perfect topic to discuss. Getting back into rhythm, getting things in order, just bouncing back after time off, shaking the rust off, all that kind of stuff. I think that's a great idea. Let's do it. All right, we're back. It's been a little while, hadn't it, buddy?
Yeah,
Been
definitely.
a few minutes.
It's our All-Star Break, that's all.
That's exactly what it is. Our All-Star Break completely. I'm going to adjust the levels here on the fly just a tiny bit. We're tweaking things, kind of getting back into a rhythm, building some momentum. It's been a nice little bit of time off, hadn't it, buddy?
Yeah, nice just get away to stop and, relax for a second, because from like December all the way till like June, it was go, 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 go. And there was like no stopping at all.
Yeah, it's been nonstop. And so we wanted to reset things a little bit. And, we didn't quite handle the time off exactly the way we would have preferred to. But at the same time, we needed it. It was a break and we got to reset. So what did this vacation mean to you? What was your reaction to how it all took place?
I mean, it was just, as I said, kind of nice to reset, kind of slow down, not like fix per se, but like
Yeah.
just reset.
Keep using that word, but I mean it holds,
Mm-hmm.
What was Caden got to do another first this time. You want to talk about that? Talk about your first cruise experience.
It was really cool. They make everyone feel like royalty, no matter like what room you have or anything. It's like you all pretty much get pretty good benefits.
Well, you do, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And like at dinner, they all try to like treat you well, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, they all try to treat you well and like have good service. And I could tell that they like care about you.
They do. They pamper you a lot. And we're a little partial to one particular cruise line, and I won't give out any free advertisement here unless they want to pay us to do that. They certainly can, but
That'd be fine.
we did get treated like royalty, if you get what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
And so it did kind of zap a little bit of our momentum, and that's another word we're going to use a lot today in this episode is momentum, and I think that kind of transitions us perfectly into what we want to talk about here to get things started. So I'll start with that word, momentum. Caden, what does the word momentum mean to you?
It's like the path you're going on. Like you're winning a lot, you're losing a lot. That, how frequent is it? How are you handling it? And like that kind of falls into momentum a little bit. And like if you take good momentum, you're probably heading in a good direction. Like you have a lot of wins or stuff is like going good in your life and you're like, planning it out and everything. That's probably good momentum. Backwards, bad stuff is kind of the reverse, and you're getting bad momentum, and it's kind of going downhill as opposed to uphill.
Okay, yeah, and you talk about wins and losses and things like that, but let's even, not every team is always really streaky with win, loss, loss, win, loss, loss, loss.
Win, loss,
But,
win, loss, and then
yeah, there's some teams that are very routinely, in and out of either and not really doing one more than the other. So what's the importance of momentum for a team, that's experiencing the back and forth like that?
That's huge because it helps like kind of awake your players, and they're like, wait, hold up, we're actually getting something here. I mean, look at the Red Sox. They were like 14 games under 500. They ripped off 11 straight, and now they're just riding this skyrocket momentum.
Sure. Yeah, and we're coming right out of the All-Star break here as well, so it's kind of funny that our little break in the show coincides with that. It also coincided with the World Cup. That was
Not planned, just
Yeah,
coincidence.
that was completely coincidental. We did watch a lot of the World Cup,
Hmm.
especially it was on the cruise line, so that was kind of fun seeing, especially you get this international mix of people and they're all taking it in and you're seeing the fans of all these different teams and countries and these big blowout parties when it's like South Africa taking on Egypt and there's huge swaths of fans of both sides. It's
Hmm.
really neat.
Yeah, and like watching them treat America and like looking at it as if it's a brand new country when we've been living here our whole lives is kind of cool.
That is
Watching
really
their
cool.
perspective
Yeah, that's been a neat part of that. But getting back to the momentum thing, we kind of chased a rabbit there, but that's
a little bit.
okay. We do that from time to time. That's kind of part of the rhythm of our show. But rhythm, I think, is the word I want to use there. So let's take baseball for example, just because that's kind of the ultimate marathon of a
Hmm.
season. How important is it for you for things to be structured throughout the week as opposed to, we're just going to fly by the seat of our pants and do whatever we want to each day this week and see where it leads us?
Oh, it's huge because like that can definitely determine one if you don't have a strict routine. Sometimes that'll break your momentum
Hmm.
and you'll start falling a little bit more. You might skip practices, forget about things, and it might just fall down a little bit more. But if you have that routine, eventually it just becomes part of you, and you're like, oh yeah, I just
Yeah.
gotta crank this out eventually, and then it's fine. And it becomes part of you. You're slowly improving, you're getting better, and you're not forgetting about it. So you're just always kind of keeping that level up as opposed to staying anywhere with nothing and you're not really going anywhere.
Yeah, and you kind of led into my next question there. So, what happens when you lose that momentum?
It's definitely awakening. Like, you're like,
Hmm.
whoa, we're not invincible. Unless it's the other way around, then it's like we're not totally dead and we can actually, do this. So it kind of depends on that type of momentum there. But we'll take when you lose positive just as an example. It kind of wakes you, as I said. It's a little bit humbling, and it's like, okay, that's what it feels like to lose. I don't want to lose
Hmm.
again. Let's keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the reverse of that, when you're in the midst of a really tough stretch, I know you guys
Hmm.
experienced that during the season last year playing
Yep.
football. When you've lost a couple of games in a row and then you get that win, what does that do for you?
Oh, it feels amazing. Like you feel like you're on top of the world for a little bit, and you're just like, all right, this is awesome. Let's not lose again. Like let's keep getting better from there.
Yeah,
And it builds a little bit more of that like friend or well, team bond a little bit. Maybe we'll talk about that later, who knows.
maybe so.
Well, next episode, I mean.
Sure.
Um and then it kind of helps that dynamic a little bit. It makes y'all closer. It kind of shows you what you've been working on. It shows that you're not just stuck in a rut a little bit.
Uh huh.
It's like you can get out of it. You just got to do something about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sometimes you just need things to kind of fall your way a little bit. And I've actually been reading a book called Outliers that talks on that talks about, I won't get into the really deep depths of the book, but what it does discuss is that there's important things like heritage,
Bad calls.
bad calls going one way or the other. Yeah, that certainly happens in the course of a game and even in the course of a season that
Hmm.
can derail
Chiefs.
teams for sure. Absolutely. I'm a believer that you can make your own luck.
So yeah, it's luck is a mindset, not a belief.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's your perspective on things.
What does work look like after extended vacations or long leaves, considering that?
So for me, and especially I felt this just over the last few weeks, it comes back to a word that I used just a little while ago, fundamentals. Getting back into, all right, what are the things that I've got to do every day to be good at what I do in my job? And you felt this, when you went back to your February workouts after playing your last game in November, you had a couple of months off there. When you got back in there for workouts, you started running,
Hmm.
getting back into shape, started running some of your routes, but started a lot of your footwork type stuff and some of the basic, here's how you backpedal as a defensive back when the play starts.
Yeah, it's like most of the time we just did scrimmages because we were kind of relearning the game a little bit. Like
Yeah.
it's programmed in us, but you're still like we restarted it, had to re-implant everything, kind of like in school, how you've got that stretch of math for
Yep.
like 3/4 of the time where it's mostly just stuff you already know that like you forgot about, and so that is re-put in there, kind of reset in your mind.
Yeah, exactly. So you know certainly what I'm talking about, and that same thing translates right on into the real world in adulthood. It's the same thing. You've got to get back into your routine, and that normally helps you kind of get out of that fog that happens sometimes after a time off. But you know, speaking of time off, the importance of taking a break. Let's talk about that a little bit. What is the value of time off for you?
I kind of already said it a little bit earlier, but it's just that reset, the time to like take a little bit off, because eventually there's going to hit a point where you're following your routine too much and it just gets boring, and it's like you're
Hmm.
living in a constant reset, and it just, you need that point where it takes a break. And so I think that kind of helps reset that, and of course as a consequence of that you're going to have to redo and restart your routine. But when you kind of get out of that, it helps you kind of, in a way, you kind of want to do it again.
Hmm.
And it just kind of helps fix your mindset a little bit, instead of like, oh, this is so boring, I got to do this again, again, again.
Yeah, certainly. And so, taking time off, do you think that taking a break makes you less committed, or can it actually make you better?
I mean, it could be a little bit of both. I would have to lean towards a little bit more like better, because if you really have a fire for what you're trying to get back in the routine in, you're going to want to keep doing it again. You're going to want to improve. You're going to want to reset. And if that doesn't really happen, maybe you don't necessarily like it as much as you think you do or as you want to do. And that's a little bit of a self-evaluation point.
Sure.
So that's why I say it's a little bit of both. But if you truly, truly want it, yeah, it will definitely help you get better.
Yeah.
How do you approach time off?
So, the way I approach time off, normally when the vacation is on the calendar and you know it's coming, and let's say it's like a week out, you're working that week before vacation, sometimes there is a little bit of a tune out that goes on, but it's honestly, I approach that week the same way that I do that first week coming back. That, okay, yeah, I know I've got a break here in a week, but I've got to come back in. I've got to do my fundamentals. I've got to get all my tasks completed. I make sure that I've got all of that either lined up so that they can answer it effectively, or so that I've wrapped it up and it's done so that they can just point it and go, hey, Steven did this. Just go check out this folder that's got the project that you're looking for there.
Yeah, and I also had another question. About the like, do you think it can make you less committed, or do you think it can make it better?
Oh yeah, so taking a break. So they've done studies that there is importance in taking time off and taking a break. And the best example I can give you of that, they've compared side by side. Let's take a person that works an 8-hour shift and they work 8 straight hours all the way through. And let's say they start their day at 100% and they're giving you 100% effort to like 2 hours in. And then at 2 hours in, they're at 80%. 4 hours in, they're at 60%. And then by the end of the day, they're only giving you about 20% effort. So you're not getting everything by the end of the day there. Meanwhile, they've compared that with a person that every hour just takes like a 5-minute break, steps away from their computer, either maybe walks a lap around, where their desk area is or something like that. That person stays consistently at like a 90% level throughout the day. So ultimately, the person that does take breaks, sometimes those people get seen as lazy, but honestly, they're stepping away, they're taking a little bitty brief mental reset. And that's the importance of regular breaks and regular time off. And that's even why most employers, if they're good ones, they encourage you to take your time off, to use the time off. Plus, most of them have budgeted for it already. So, like, that's time off that's already paid for you. So, if I can give one lesson to somebody that's starting their career, when your employer gives you, whether it's a week of vacation or 2 weeks or lots of time off or PTO, things like that, take advantage of that.
Yep. And then moving a little bit in more towards the All-Star break, because we had talked about that a little bit
Sure,
earlier.
we had.
Since for the first time since 2023, the Rangers are in first place, and we actually have a little bit of momentum.
They do. Yeah, the Rangers are looking good right now, and and I think here again we'll see how do they respond to that break. I mean, because the thing about baseball that's a little different from some of the other sports. NFL's got bye weeks, but those are staggered throughout the season. Some teams take theirs like as early as week 4, and then there are some that take theirs
Like,
not until
I think I've seen like week 16 at the latest.
no, there were some
Like
last
14
season that
maybe.
were super late, so you're probably right on that. But either way, they stagger theirs, and then you've got the NBA, MLB, NHL. They all take theirs kind of at some kind of midpoint in the season. Let's talk about how that looks differently for every team. In the NFL, with teams staggering their bye weeks, how does that compare to everybody across the league resetting, like in the MLB, NBA, and NHL?
So it's, one, it's obviously for entertainment purposes. I doubt they'd want a week where everyone's off. That's just
Right.
not smart marketing.
Yeah, the NFL's not going to do that.
No. And then also a little bit, it's like, okay, you could be playing a team that just came off a bye week and a team that's been playing for 10 straight weeks. And it's like, that's not a little fair. And so I feel like the scheduling could be a little bit better. And it's like two teams that come off a bye week should play each other. I feel like that would be smarter just because then they both have that same momentum. Well, not really necessarily. And then as opposed to everyone taking a whole break, it resets everything.
Yeah.
And then having like your All-Star game in there or something so that you still get views, so that people are still looking at you. I feel like that's a little bit better of a way to execute it, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think it's possible to keep peak intensity for 6 straight months in baseball?
I don't. And not even just baseball. In all sports in general, teams need days off. The NBA, one of their big words that they use a lot, actually phrases, is load management, and making sure that when their team plays back-to-back nights, that they're, especially their big guys that need a little bit more extra rest, or some of their older veterans, they're not playing a full 48 minutes back-to-back on those nights. You watch a typical NHL game, those guys are actually constantly taking breaks because their line shifts are only like a minute to a minute and a half each, which is so fast paced and so fun. That's why I love the NHL. It's great. But even in baseball, which is more of the marathon type of season, they have to have those days off. And there's people that will point out, hey, they get to play a game, but it's a physically taxing game. They're on their feet most of that game. The point, you can't be at peak intensity for 6 straight months.
Yeah, and then even like in the NFL or the NBA, they also, NBA, there's lineups. People are always shifted because that's the same thing as hockey. Football, you've got the defense. They play for about probably, if it's a good drive, like 5 minutes, anywhere from like 30 seconds to 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So even the offenses get breaks, the defenses get breaks. In baseball, that's not the case. Like everyone in that lineup is on the field at every point.
Sure.
And like the only break you get is, unless you're a pitcher, which you still have a lot, and you're a batter, you still get like maybe at the longest like 10 minutes.
Sure.
And then you have to go back out there, and then you're on the field again, and then you sit down, and it's just up and up and up.
Yeah.
And that's why they have so much conditioning, which is the least favorite part, like consensus. Everyone hates it. But that's why they have so much of it, because you actually need it. Like it's kind of required if you want to play at a competitive level.
And there you go. Yeah, and I think that really gives us a good place to kind of close things out here. So it really comes down to how well do you do the fundamentals and how good is your routine, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have any final thoughts there, Caden?
Mostly just, I know the routine will get boring, but like, there's always going to be a small break in there somewhere. And also in the vice versa of that, don't keep going without any breaks.
Yes. Yeah. Don't let yourself get burned out. So, and really listen to your body, listen to your mind, pay attention to how things are going on around you and the people that are in your life. Well, that's going to close it out for today. Caden, it was great to have you back and to be back with you and getting back into this. Thank you for checking us out again. Of course, special thanks again to those that are in our lives, Heather, for Regan, for y'all's support. And by the way, we've got this mess here with us behind us, this cardboard box, the Home Depot box, the mattress. We're getting ready to move Regan out to school. And so this studio has kind of become the catch-all for us. And so that's where all of our stuff is coming together. But, it's bittersweet. We're going to be seeing her off. But again, keep your momentum, keep your rhythm. We got back into it. If we can get back into it, certainly you can. And so don't let don't let rest turn into rust. I think that's really what I'm trying to say there. Caden, anything else you want to add?
No, that's all I have.
Well,
See
that's
ya.
a wrap. We're going to roll the open. Or, excuse me, we're not going to roll the open.
Sorry.
We're going to roll the close. See? A little bit of rust there. That's okay. But we're going to call it a day. Heather, I love you, baby. Thank you so much for all that you do for us and for giving us a pretty good son there. He's a pretty good dude. All right. Well, we'll see you next time. And just to give us a little preview, Caden, what are we going to talk about on the next episode?
Building.
Building.
And be careful, because I planned it, so
Ooh.
it might be crazy.
All right.
Who knows?
We about to get wild. You're going to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
Yeah.
It's a little George Costanza there for you. We'll see you.
See ya.